chamber. Martin George joins me on the Zoom line for us to do our pre-budget analysis. Martin, great to see you. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning to you, Jason, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
You know, the chief sec yesterday in Palato VA was talking to reporters, and he would have mentioned that major priority will be put, at least consideration in this budget, will be put towards the current challenges facing the island concerning safety and security. More so, we're hearing of this THA police force, and a matter of fact, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, on May 4th, instructed the Attorney General to make, quote, manageable amendments to the THA Act to establish this said THA force, security service, as it were. What's your take on that in terms of allocation? How much you anticipate would be put forward to ensure this happens? And do you think ultimately it will make a difference in Tobago?
Well, the thing is, we have to understand that the THA effectively is almost like a municipal corporation. So when one looks at the municipal corporation's legislation, you recognize that embodied therein are the provisions for the municipal police, because you must have that legislative underpinning to be able to establish your own police unit. And I think that's what the Prime Minister is alluding to in terms of trying to make those amendments so that within the THA Act, you will now have provisions made for a THA police unit or police service, or, you know, I mean, I have even proposed a name. I have said they could call it the Tobago Regional Police Service, you know, TRPS, and have them work alongside the TTPS. So I think it's a good idea, but of course, it has to come from the national parliament, because we have to remember, Jason, under the 6th schedule of the THA Act, national security has been specifically hived off as an area for which the THA has no responsibility or control. So in other words, that must come from central government. So therefore, you must have that legislation put in place to ensure that the THA can have its own security force. I heard that the THA Chief Secretary said that he's going to make provisions for financial allocations for that unit. Now, I don't know how one is going to come up with the numbers in relation to that, you know, in terms of, you know, a budgetary request, but he's indicated that he's going to include that as part of his budgetary statement that is due to be delivered later today. Now, the thing is, one doesn't know how soon this is going to be actualized or operationalized, because remember, the legislation has to be drafted, the bill then has to be put on the order paper, it then has to be laid in Parliament, it then has to be debated, it then would have to be passed, and then, you know, assented to, and all these stages before it can be enacted into law. You know, and, you know, before you know it, we are facing general elections next year. So one doesn't know how quickly that is going to actually come to fruition. But it is definitely a good start. And I mean, if it is that the Prime Minister has signaled his intention in that regard, then of course that is a necessary first step, because this is not something the THA can do on its own. They must have the national parliament legislate for it first and foremost.
Understood. You know, yesterday he also established that he will prove and show that finally the Tobago economy, it's now stable. Is that the case, Martin, from a business perspective?
Well,
I mean, let me give you the quote. He says the island's economy has finally stabilized. He will reveal in the budget. He's going to reveal that today.
Well, I mean, what does one describe as stable when you still have to come to central government every year with basically a begging bowl to say, well, look, give me $4 billion, give me $5 billion, you know, for my budgetary allocation. And then when you look at the earnings that are derived therefrom, I mean, I could tell you as a fact, Jason, there has never been any single year where the budgetary figures show any return from Tobago that even approaches close to $1 billion in terms of the income earned. So therefore, if you are constantly receiving monies with little or no return to show for it, I would wonder on what basis you would say that your economy is stable. Because, I mean, if it is that you were self-funded, then that would mean that you are running a deficit budget every year, and a significant deficit budget. Right? And we must put things in context, Jason. I remember one year I actually did a comparison, and the budgetary allocation for Tobago with maybe 60,000 people was actually higher than the national budget for Guyana. This would have been several years ago, right? Before Guyana has gotten oil, and they're rich and proud, and they're whining on us now. I mean, the point is, they're doing it. They're telling you that they're not afraid to say so. But I mean, at the end of the day, when they were going through their hard times, there was a year I actually did that analysis and comparison, and the allocation for 60,000 people in Tobago was more than it was for the 700 and something thousand people in Guyana. And when you consider the size of Guyana, remember Guyana is larger than the United Kingdom. So I mean, the point is, we have to look at the question of accountability if we are going to be talking about stability in terms of the economy. Because if you stop the inflow from central government, then where's your stability? If you understand, we have to be realistic about this, So, I mean, yes, I mean, as a child in your mother's house, you can say, well, yes, everything nice because your parents funding everything. You don't have that responsibility. But when you're a big man and you're out on your own and you realize, I have to pay rent, I have to pay mortgage, I have to pay the car loan, I have to pay this, that, the other, then if you can manage all those things and still have a surplus, then you could say you're stable. But I mean, if you still then have to be running home to mommy and daddy and, mommy, I need money for my mortgage, daddy, I need money to pay the car loan, then are you really stable?
Martin, let me ask you, do you anticipate this budget today will touch on, I would say, incentives, initiatives for youth development? It will re-energize the construction industry there, the sector. Of course, tourism is always a major consideration in Tobago. Where you anticipate the focus should be? I know he said major emphasis will be on security and safety, but outside of that, what can we do right now to get Tobago's economy truly vibrant and self-sufficient?
Well, one of the ideas which I had floated, which I am happy to see that the THA has taken on board, was that I suggested that the URP program in Tobago be revolutionized to be the seed labor force for a revitalization of the agro economy in Tobago. And they have actually started on that. So I am hoping to see an increase and an expansion on that program, because I have said repeatedly, you have a large pool of labor there among the URP and CPEP workers. Let's use them productively, give them a full day's work, give them a full day's pay, and put them in dedicated agricultural programs which are government-led and government-driven. Don't have them just painting stones white all day and cutting grass on the side of the road. There's a lot more that can be done with a useful, productive labor force of that size. So they have taken that initiative, and I hope to see that increased and expanded. And in fact, I want us to set that up as a model for Trinidad to follow. Because in Trinidad, we keep talking about the revival and diversification of our economy. But the point is, we are doing nothing in terms of our agro industry to really get it back on its feet. And if we are saying that, look, we are short of labor, then I'm saying let's pivot, and repurpose our CPEP and URP workers to be a large part of this agrarian reform that we should have in Trinidad and Tobago. That will help to reduce our food import bill. It will help to reduce the stress on the foreign exchange. And we then now would be able to be a lot more self-sufficient and self-secure in terms of our food production and food security. So, I mean, it's a win-win all around if you think of it that way. One of the things we've all mentioned, and I mean, that we are hoping would be addressed by the Chief Secretary, is for him to call upon the Minister of Finance to immediately repeal the Foreign Investment Act. I don't know why the government has not taken heed of our calls on this for years. For years, we at the Chamber have been saying we are calling for the unconditional and immediate repeal of that Foreign Investment Act. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to have that legislation on our books. All it has done is from 2008, Jason, it has dried up all direct foreign investment into Tobago. You look at all the other islands, right? All the small islands going up the chain, they don't have a foreign exchange crisis. They allow foreign direct investment. Why are we the only ones who are stupidly clinging to this archaic and anachronistic piece of legislation which has not served its purpose, and all it has done is prevent us from having foreign exchange in a scenario where all of Trinidad and Tobago is facing a foreign exchange crisis, but yet still you have legislation that is actually blocking direct foreign investment. There's no logic whatsoever to keeping that legislation.
Well, Martin, I must say, we thank you as always for the perspective. Let's see how things pan out today, and I'm assuming, well, if not, well, probably this week, I'm assuming by next week we could get a chance to just do the postmortem to actually hear what's now put forward, and let's see how we could really crunch the numbers and see how this could truly impact Tobago in a positive way, we hope.
Of course.
All the best, Martin.
Thank you very much. And a good morning to you and your viewers. Good